Hey guys, my name is Eric, and this is my Speedrun Explained for Green Hell 80% Good Ending. So, the difference between 80% Good Ending and regular 80% for this game is that our goal is to obtain the cure and get to the radio cutscene in the end game for this category. So, timing starts on the appearance of the Day 1 screen, and we're greeted climbing on top of this hill as someone named Jake.
Okay, I'm here.
When you're turning like that, you can interact with objects that are in your path. So there I just pick up those 2 rocks for fun. That has no impact on the run, it's just something fun to do. You can also pick up sticks if they spawn there, and you can also pick up big rocks if they spawn there. When going through dialogue in the game, you can both press T and the mouse 1 button to select dialogue. So ideally we want to be clicking both in order to click the dialogue. So starting off here in this current scene that we're in, our only form of movement is walking, sidestepping, and backstepping. Since walking is slow, we'll be backstepping and sidestepping as much as we can. In this game, there's stamina, so we have to wait for that to regen before we can continue sidestepping or backstepping. Currently in the game, there's no known way to get infinite stamina. So the category depends on stamina management and how well you can do that.
Okay, found the tent.
Right here, I just have to wait for the next scene to open, but I can spend my time collecting useful things such as sticks, tinder, all that good stuff.
Always delivers. At first glance, it looks like we have everything we might need.
So far, I'm getting pretty unlucky with my sticks. So that's pretty unfortunate. So starting off day 2, we now have full control of our character, and we can now interact with our inventory. For objects in Green Hell, you can pick them up instantly, or you'd have to fill up a ring to pick them up. For objects where you have to fill up the ring, you can actually queue up that ring by holding the use key before you get into the range of it. So for example, for those 2 nests I picked up, I was holding E before I was actually in the range in order to pick them up, but because I was holding E, the ring was already filling up, so when I got into the, usable distance for that, it just picked up instantly. So coming up is the first trick of the run. It's called a tree hop. So for my technique, I follow along this ridge that sticks over the land. From there, I will jump to the corner, and then jump to the side of a tree that's sticking out, and then onto the tree. I'll demonstrate it here. So on the ridge, corner, next to the tree, onto the tree. A few mistakes runners make are running out of stamina and jumping too soon. If you jump too soon, you're likely to be pushed by invisible barriers that exist everywhere in this game. Or you just straight up won't jump whatsoever because you jumped, before you hit the ground. Once more here, I run across the ridge, jump in the corner, next to the tree, and then onto the tree. Alright, now that you know how that's done, let's get back to the run. Continuing on with the run, we're now performing tree hop. Now that that's done, we're just going to keep on collecting sticks on our way to our next objective, which is finding a dart frog on the ground in order to make the cure. Just up ahead, we'll be harvesting our first plant in order to make the ayahuasca drink. So when harvesting objects in this game, there's a couple animations you can go through. There's one that's just a regular swinging animation, which you kind of want to do. When you're harvesting trees, you just whack at the tree. And when you're harvesting crops on the ground, like this one right here, you'll usually go through a long animation of swinging on top of it, hitting the ground, swinging on top of it, hitting the ground, and that just takes too much time. So ideally, when you're harvesting these kind of plants, you want to be swiping the air next to it, making sure you're hitting it with the air swipe hitbox. while we have this downtime from walking from one place to another, I'll try to explain a couple tricks that'll be happening soon. So in this game, if you were to, by any means, interrupt dialogue, that dialogue would be skipped to the next, sequence of events. Be that the dialogue ending or a new dialogue starting. In cutscenes, when the cutscene only persists of dialogue, and then the cutscene fades out and, you spawn somewhere, you can do whatever you want. Technically, that entire chunk of dialogue only counts as one. Say if you're responding to Mia in dialogue, and you're clicking options. All of those options are into one long dialogue option that you can fully skip, including the cutscene, if you overwrite that with certain values. It's confusing stuff. Along with that, dialogue by itself, you can also interrupt. If it's just separate dialogue, you can end dialogue early and start certain scenes early. It's pretty interesting. And the same thing goes with maps. When you're loading maps or loading cutscenes, you can change properties of a cutscene to overwrite it with a map, and you can have the properties of that map inside a cutscene. It's super weird, and you'll understand when we get there, or you won't. Probably not. I still don't get it. Here I'm harvesting 2 logs, and before I get into this tent, I'm gonna open my notebook early before I go in. And when you have a notebook open in transitioning loading zones, you get this weird effect where you're constantly holding a notebook in your hand. Now this effect blocks things such as swinging your sword, so I'll be forever stuck swinging my sword at nothing. It won't work anymore. Here I'm going to make a hand drill. When I make this hand drill, I'm going to use it without completing its animation. So I'm going to pause so it gets cancelled when I get all the way down. And now what I just did there was an animation store where I store the animation of me going down on the hand drill, and now you'll notice there that my hand drill instantly starts, making an ember. And that's because I stored the animation. And that animation persists through all loading zones the entire game until you save and exit. So here is the interesting part. There, I overwrite a cutscene by entering a loading zone. And now I'm in a cutscene with the properties of the loading zone. And it does a bunch of wacky stuff. Here's just a few interesting things you can do with this. Fire warping into a loading zone. You can be stuck in here forever. This is what happens when you enter the loading zone too early, is you get stuck in the cutscene but on a different part of the map. Another thing you do is go do a fire warp into a cutscene into a different part of the map. And now I'm in this cutscene, but I have the properties of being on the overworld, being able to move and everything. This has a bunch of interesting effects, such as I can move around inside a cutscene and see everything around it. Fun fact, in this cutscene there's actually 2 Mias. One out there by the campfire, and one in her tent on her bed. So you're going to be fire warping into an inside map. And now what this does is that it unloads the overworlds and loads the room world, as you want to call it. And then I warp back to the overworld inside a cutscene that takes place there. And because I did that, all the floor textures are now gone. So yeah, that's pretty weird. Also, the sky textures are kind of wacky too, but yeah. It's not useful in runs, but it just looks cool. Makes it easy to find sticks. But yeah, that's about it. Also, you'll see like a weird moon thing at the end of your cursor. It's a dark moon. Don't know what that's about, but that's just something interesting I found out. Now that I showed you all the stuff that I know fire warping could do, let's get back to the run. So now that we fire warped, outside of the map and skipped a cutscene by going in water and overwriting the dialogue, we're now on day 3. Now that we're on day 3, we saved roughly about 2 minutes from watching the cutscene. Now we can continue on with our run as usual. So here we're just going to make our way all the way back to the tree hop and continue on from there. Of course, collecting sticks along the way. So once again, running on the ridge, corner, next to the tree, onto the tree. Coming through this cave again, I want to dodge the scorpion that's hiding in here. Right to my left, once again. Coming out of the cave, I'm going to go down the hill and collect some tree scraps to be able to make my ayahuasca. There you see the use of holding the interact button before I get into the grabbable zone for the item, in order to get it earlier than usual. Here I'm just jumping off a mountain casually onto a tent. And I'll be harvesting some logs on the ground for my sticks to make my next campfire. Once again, there's the use of my animation storage I did earlier. Notice how that animation for the hand drill went instantly and I made embers really quickly. Gonna dip my notebook in the stew. Yummy. Again, that notebook is there because it's glued to our hand from earlier when we did notebook holding through a transition.
You'll stay here.
Now, because this is all boring and it's just walking now in cutscene, we're going to be, of course, doing this. That's what I think of all these cutscenes in this game.
Just tell me what happened.
So for all these little dreaming rooms, like, there's nothing we can really do. We gotta wait till the dialogue finishes. There's no way of skipping this dialogue that I know of yet.
I could eat without throwing up.
So yeah, we just gotta suffer through this. Big lore dump, but I don't know the lore of this game. I just play it to go fast, not to have fun.
The whole time. But Jake, I feel it coming back. I'm afraid of it. I lived, but felt dead. I can't go through all that again.
I guess if you plan on running this game, a good time to drink your ayahuasca on is around 8:30. Kind of want to aim around there. So yeah, if you plan on playing this game, try to aim for an 8:30 ayahuasca. That means you're on a pretty good run. If you get like an 8:10, 8:05, that means you got pretty good RNG, or you just have great movement. A couple things to look for when you're doing your runs.
Everyone was infected. Everyone. Even you.
Again, can't skip any of this. It's dreadful. It's just like the next 7 minutes is... 7 minutes, sorry. 4 minutes is all cutscenes.
Me alone. To die. You wanted to save me again. But what will the price be this time, Jake? What will you sacrifice?
It's the one downside to playing this game as a speed game. Along with this category and the main category, more than half the run is all cutscenes. So yeah, pretty brutal.
What happened here?
I'll just try and do as much fun things as I can on all these cutscenes.
Suffer.
I sold their secrets.
It's easier not to remember, isn't it? Do you even remember?
I'd be interested to know if anyone ever makes a debug menu with like fly enabled, so that we can see where all these maps are being held. I'd love to be able to explore where all these maps are. That'd be very interesting to see. You know, maybe we can get to them early, maybe we can trigger stuff, who knows.
How long have you
But
been
yeah, the hospital is on one of these maps inside the forest in the dream world.
I can't remember.
If we can get there early, that'd be pretty cool. But as far as I know, we can't. Going back earlier towards the fire warping through transitions. When you fire warp into a cutscene that takes place on the dream world, but you fire warp through a transition that takes you outside to the overworld. The overworld is it looks like the overworld, but it has the properties of the dream world. And in the dream world, there's actually no possible way you can die. Death planes don't exist. Animals don't exist. Hostile falling damage doesn't exist. You can literally fall forever. Eventually, when you reach out of the map, the lowest I made it is to negative 27,000 units, and then my game crashed. Don't know if that was a coincidence or if that's like the limit you can go. I didn't bother testing it again because it took about 7 minutes to fall that far. But you know, I was just interested and wanted to see what would happen. But yeah, you really cannot die in the dream world. So yeah, if you ever wanted to, you know, if you were ever interested in what goes on outside the map, go ahead, go in the dream world, teleport to an overworld map. And yeah, it's pretty whack. You have the world's slowest movement because, you know, you have dream world movement on an overworld map. So yeah, that kind of sucks.
I can't stand it.
In this hospital scene, once upon a time, a couple patches ago, you were able to sidestep off that chair. But it appears the devs have patched that nowadays, so you can no longer sidestep off that chair. Saved like a second back then. It was, you know, interesting, but whatever. Also, that door right there is like magnetic. You can just like dash to it from across the room. Yeah, something interesting to point out here, just from a gameplay perspective.
You didn't listen.
If you go to that window over there, Mia isn't in the reflection of the window. Of course, you can also bring up that Jake isn't in the reflection, but like, who has the time to animate reflections in this game? But yeah, everything else in that mirror, why am I saying mirror? Window. Has a reflection, so the entire room is just reflected, except for Mia's entire station right there that she has. She's not in the mirror. The window reflection.
Now I know where to find you.
Then go.
Another fun fact, this map I'm in right now takes place at the Dream World village. So this place right here, but in the Dream World. You can actually clip outside the map in the main game. So here I'm doing a trick where I get my notebook updated. I open my notebook, I tab in, I tab out, and then I tab back in the game as quick as I can. And that skips 1 minute and 27 seconds of waiting time for this cutscene to happen. So yeah, that's the run. 14 minutes, 48 seconds. Not bad. It's a pretty good run. But yeah, usually when you leave the hospital, a timer starts for 1 minute and 27 seconds. Where you can just explore the map, do whatever you want. And then eventually the cutscene will happen. Interesting thing about beating the game as a tutorial, you can actually skip the cutscene. You can actually, skip the tutorial while you're in the cutscene and interesting stuff happens. Still have my notebook here. But by far the most interesting thing of them all is what's going to be happening next. So, when I get up here, you'll notice that my vision snaps, and I can tilt my head. So for some reason, your mouse behaves wacky in this scene, we'll call it. Looking left actually tilts your head left. Looking right tilts your head up. Moving your mouse down tilts your head right, and it just makes no sense. You can't actually, in the vanilla game, oh, this is vanilla, you can't normally tilt your head, so it's really weird. But yeah, that's going to be it for this explanation of the speedrun. If you have any questions, take them to the comments, or you can message me on Discord. Discord will be on the description. And a no commentary version of this run will also be in the description. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.